right, here we are again. It feels like yesterday that we were doing this. Oh, wait, it's already been 3 years since Fire and Ash? Since The Way of Water? Why does it feel like it's been longer, ultimately, than the wait that we had in between the first and second Avatar? I'm kidding, obviously. I set this up at the beginning of the episode. We are here to review the big blockbuster event of December. You know, like I said, that middle weekend of December. Like I said, just some of the releases that we've had over the last 10 years alone. Like I said, 4 out of the 5 Disney released Star Wars movies, you know, even going back to before that, the pre-major MCU era, you've had the Hobbit movies released in this spot, post-COVID, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avatar The Way of Water. 2023, you had Wonka. Last Christmas, I believe you had... Shit, I'm forgetting. What was the blockbuster last? What the hell was it? I genuinely don't remember. Oh, no, wait. I remember what it was. Oh, you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh really hard. It was that Better Man movie, the movie about the British pop star who, for whatever reason...
Oh, yeah, that was kind of like a December or January.
Yeah,
kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, but I feel like there was something before that. I feel like there was something else, because I saw The Brutalist and I saw Nosferatu last year at Christmas. Was it really Better Man? It can't have been. There had to have been something else. Anyways, that's not important. 2024 is in the past. We're here. We're beginning our 2025 wrap. Like I said, we've got this review today. We're doing our Lost and Pluribus finales next weekend, and then we wrap the year with the Stranger Things finale when that drops on New Year's Eve. We will be reviewing it that day. I'm almost tempted to do a live watch along, if not for the fact that we'll probably get killed with copyrights. But real quick, Luke, Avatar: Fire and Ash, the third in James Cameron's massive epic saga, you know, after the first one became the highest grossing movie of all time way back in 2009. You were what, 6, 7 when that first movie came out? I cannot.
Yes, I was.
That. Oh my God. Canceled. We're canceled. We're done. Oh my God. Hell no, there's a rope back there that I'm going to hang myself with. Oh my God. I hate myself so much. God damn it.
I would have been 7 because it came out in December. But I did not have the... I did not see it in theaters. I was watching like Wall-E and stuff like this at that point. So
yeah.
But I did watch it eventually. I watched it on the re-release before Way of Water, and I was like, okay, this is like, you have to see it on the big screen to get it.
Yeah,
like, because I'd seen it on the small screen. I was like, this is fun. Okay, this is like Hero's Journey, Dune with trees. But you see it on the big screen, you're like, okay, I'm
much
here.
more so Fern Gully than anything else. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, Fern Gully, Dance with Wolves. We all know about the comparisons. We all know about the illusions. That's tired. That's boring. Everybody's already done that. Let's not do that here. I want to break the mold with this one. I want to go rogue on this one, if you will. I want to go against the grain, because already you can see the criticisms coming up. Oh no, this movie has no cultural relevance. Oh no, he's just doing the same thing over and over again. Oh, who cares about the Na'vi? Oh, I can't remember. Nah.
I care about the Na'vi. I care about them deeply.
And let me tell you something. To all those fucking critics and naysayers out there, I had a blast with this movie. This is one of the most fun times that I have had in a theater with it all year. And also, it is pretty funny also, if I might add as well, how for movies that seemingly have no cultural relevance, it's funny actually. Did you see that thing on Twitter that dropped this morning where it's like the life cycle of Avatar movies, where it's like You Are Here right before the movie crosses like $3 billion at the box office?
Yeah, it's like, people like these blue monkeys for some reason. Like there's a reason that the first one is the highest grossing thing ever, and the second one almost became that as well, and now the third one's already made like a lot.
Almost like James Cameron is the last person in Hollywood who understands that when you take a simple story, a very simple story, and put it on the biggest level humanly possible, and tell people, you know, this has to be seen on a big screen in order to be really appreciated, people will show up. And lo and behold, I mean, look, I will say this. I can understand the skepticism going into this one, because what this one did not have that The Way of Water did have it going into it, because The Way of Water, it had been so long since the first Avatar movie, like 13 years, something like that. I don't remember the exact amount of time that, okay, like the buildup was understandable. People were ready to be back in Pandora after spending a decade in Marvel. I remember when I talked about this with Eli 3 years ago when I reviewed The Way of Water, that, again, I know this wasn't James Cameron's conscious choice to wait out the MCU, but releasing that movie in 2022 when the MCU was struggling to get back on its feet after COVID hell was the smartest decision possible. And ironically, in a way, that also kind of benefited this movie as well, because, I mean, the MCU, I think, is even worse off now than it was 3 years ago in 2022. You know, their lowest grossing year yet, despite some two movies, I should say, that were both very, very positively received. None of those movies, Thunderbolts barely cracked 300 million. Fantastic Four did what, 500 million, if that. So you were basically being queued up going into this fall season. It was like, okay, so it's going to be Wicked, Zootopia, and Avatar eating everybody else's lunch. And it shows because every single other movie that released this fall flopped. So that's just from a box office standpoint, already kind of the advantages that Avatar had going into it. But also, just as far as the story and the plot goes, like Jake, Neytiri, Loak, Took, Kiri,
You can name everyone.
Torch. I can name every one of these characters. And also, why is it that when I'm watching this movie, I am remembering all of the lore, all of the kind of the iconography, everything that, that Pandora has introduced into my life? For movies that seemingly have no cultural relevance or anything, why is it that I'm able to remember all of that? It's a genuine question that I have. I really, I wonder if you have the answer to it.
I don't know. I think James Cameron is just that kind of cinematic storyteller. There's a reason Titanic became also one of I think it was the highest grossing.
It was the highest grossing movie before Avatar.
Okay, it's like a cultural thing. It's like the big ship that drowned, that sunk. But he made it into this love story, this spectacle. Everyone knows Jack and Rose and the door thing and everything. And then he just does that with Avatar. He brings together the cast, and now it's exploded into the Sully family, as it were. So yes, Jake wasn't the most interesting character in the first one, but especially with these two, I think he's building up this cast with each subsequent entry.
Yeah, I like seeing Jake Sully as a conflicted father figure, especially after the event of the last one. Obviously the biggest criticism going into this is it's just a repeat of the plot. I'm like, how is this a repeat of the plot when they're mourning the death of their eldest son?
Maybe structurally, but from a character sense.
I even have that as a note here where it genuinely almost is kind of the same movie structurally, right? But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And we're going to get into all of that. So I guess, did you want to start with, I guess, the plot details ultimately? Because this is another one that, again, it's kind of this movie's greatest strength and greatest weakness in the sense of where this movie is kind of has 4 or 5 acts. It really is an extended TV miniseries all in one movie. And again, so all of that, these are going to sound like criticism. These are positives. I promise you, people. I promise you. So coming out of the end of the last one, Jake and his family, the Sully family, obviously him and Neytiri, his surviving son Loak, his daughter Took, his adopted daughter Kiri, who is the clone / reincarnation of Grace Augustine.
We get a little more.
We get a little bit more backstory on that one as well. And their adopted human son Spider, who in the last one was revealed to be the son of the now recently brought back to life Miles Quartz. They've settled in with the Metcaina clan. When ultimately they decide to ship off Spider back to Neytiri's clan where Norman Max are living so that he can be safe from Quartz when they are attacked by a new clan of Na'vi, the Mangwan clan, the Fire clan, if you will, who they have essentially, they believe that they have been abandoned by Awa, and so their whole thing is just attack, kill, get high on trippy drugs and spread fire everywhere. So they attack. So now they have a new adversary. It actually forces Jake and Quartz to team up for a little bit at the beginning.
This is my favorite trope in all of fiction.
It's the best. This is my favorite stretch of the movie here.
Yeah. I also, just to address one thing with the fire people, that I was worried. It was okay, they're just going to be the Metcaina, but with fire. But no, they're they're just evil Na'vi, but with a fire sort of branding, if you will. So I'm glad that there's not just more gimmick stuff. It's okay, we're gonna see what the bad Na'vi are like. They're not all peaceful tribes and whatnot. So that's
added
sort of
diversity as well into what we thought about the naive of the Na'vi clan. So you have that kind of overplot, which eventually results in Quartz making an alliance with them to what's it called, and introducing guns to them in order to potentially get an advantage in the RDF's continually failed assault in order to take down Jake ultimately. And meanwhile, within the Sully family, things are very, very tense as it is. Jake is very clearly still angry at Loak and blames him for the death of Neteyam. In the last one, you have Kiri, who is struggling with her connection to Awa, considering that every time she tries to do it, she almost dies. You have Neytiri, who is also struggling with having Spider around, as he seems to be a living reminder of everything that has happened since the humans have come and destroyed her homeworld, resulting in the deaths of many of her family members and her having to leave from her home. So you have all of this going in, which of course is resulting into a mega gobsmackingly awesome battle with the humans once again fighting against the Na'vi, and this time now being helped up and backed up by the evil Na'vi. You have a lot of returning faces. I think almost every returning face from the last 2 movies comes back. You have Giovanni, the return of the iconic Giovanni Ribisi as Parker. They're just goddamn trees. Edie Falco is back. Brendan Cole is the evil whaler is back. You also have a couple new faces here as well. In addition, you have Una Chaplin giving an awesome over-the-top performance as Varang, the leader of the Magwan clan. You also have David Thewlis in a quick cameo as the leader of the Wind Traders, who show up at the beginning as kind of the inciting incident. And man, I mean, I feel like that covers a majority of the plot details. The next note that I have here written, because yeah, this movie is so long and so gangbustersly awesome that I had to write notes down, how this really is more of a continuation of Part B to Way of Water rather than a true sequel. I mean, Cameron said that he envisioned this as being, you know, as Way of Water and Fire and Ash as being kind of one big, massive, continuous story, and that if and when he gets to 4 and 5, that will also kind of act as well as one big continuous story spread across 2 different movies.
Yeah, so I guess we want to start like.
I mean, there's a lot to break down plot-wise. There's a lot to break down plot-wise, because now that we have all these other characters, now that's not just a Jake story, it's ultimately grown and encompassed and become a massive ensemble, a Sully story, if you will. Because, like, what is that, like 6 or 7 main characters? You have Jake, Neytiri, Loak, Kiri, Spider, and Korch, I would say, are our 6 main characters ultimately that like the movie is following. And I mean, we got a 3-hour and 15-minute long movie, so they have plenty of time to devote to all these characters.
I don't know. I was never bored, like, because you can just jump to whichever character is doing whatever, and like you said, they all have their conflicting things that they have to get over, and that how that clashes with each other. And at the very beginning, you know, Jake and Quaritch having to work together to save their own kids, which is like, these two hate each other, like they want to kill each other.
But it shows that, man, all sorts of rivalries, anger, like past grudges, all take a backseat when it comes to kids. Because at the end of the day, if there's one thing that these movies show, it is that fatherhood comes above all else. You will do anything that you can to protect your kid.
Yeah, I feel like their rivalry is like the burning engine of this franchise. Like if you kill off Quaritch, like the franchise goes with him at this point. He's like the greatest fictional character of all time.
And man, he was dropping some bombs of one-liners, pun intended, in this movie. Oh man.
Yeah, I can't remember like one that comes to mind, but every time he's on screen, it was like, okay, just let Stephen Lang do his thing.
Yeah. It was kind of funny how, pardon me, as I'm chewing on this piece of toast. It was kind of funny how in the last one, right, you had like kind of a sickeningly cruel irony where he spent his life devoted to the majority of his late military career devoted to and fighting the Na'vi, only to then be killed by one, and then have his conscience transferred into the body of one. So I thought that was there's a little bit of a cruel irony there. But you see in this one, he's kind of settling into it. He's kind of like started to enjoy being like however tall, like 10 feet tall. And
you forget how tall they are.
They're
like,
really
when they're standing,
tall.
they're like waist. What humans are, they reach their waist. It's
well, because we spent so much time with the Na'vi at this point, you know, now that Jake has been a Na'vi for how many years now, and now that Korch is a Na'vi as well, that there are ultimately more Na'vi characters than there are human characters. Hell, even the few human characters that are left, you know, Max and Norm are still there, ultimately helping out Neytiri's original clan. Now that you have and they spend the majority, or Norm at least spends the majority of his movie in his avatar body. He spent so much time with the Na'vi that the few times that they do interact with humans here, you forget that, like, oh yeah, these things are fucking tall. But Korch is, you know, a pretty obvious underlying theme throughout this movie is Korch is starting to, for lack of a better word, he's starting to go native. You know, he hooks up with Varang here. He you know, he does some trippy hallucinogenic drugs. He's consistently told by Jake throughout the movie, he's like, look, you know, you keep thinking that this is all about an us versus them sort of a thing, but no, like, you know, Pandora has opened my eyes, and it's clearly opening your eyes too. You just gotta let it in ultimately. And you see, I would say the Korch is probably more conflicted here than we've ever seen him before, because even though he is still dead set military man, I'm gonna get my mission, I'm gonna get my man, I'm gonna get Sully, I'm gonna bring the traitor back. He's not exactly getting along with his superiors with the Edie Falco character. You know, like I said, he's hooked up with the leader of the Mangwan clan. Like, I'm starting to wonder, like, are these movies more about Korch now than they are the Sully family? I'm really starting to wonder.
I think it's that classic like move, especially like I think it happens in all storytelling when the villain is just far more interesting than the protagonist.
Yeah.
Like, you always fall into that trap of like you have to define the villain's motives to give the protagonist a reason to fight, and you end up putting more into the villain. So I think I think it's quite clear where his overall arc is going. Like movie 5, he'll probably turn to the full
Right.
Navi side. And we'll have like a
You think
big
that
out.
happens in movie 5, not movie 4?
I think because he's getting closer each time. Like
Right.
especially this one towards the end, there was like a moment of like, ooh, is he gonna?
Is he
No,
gonna?
we'll see you in the next movie.
Yeah. See you in the
So
next time. Yeah, it's funny because you could have not have had it more obvious. Okay, we set this up to literally go either way. If we don't get another one, then he's dead. He's gone. If we do get another one, great. He clearly survived. So, and it was really funny because I was watching it with Dexter, and afterwards Dexter was like, "Oh, so you think he died?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. There's no way he died. Come on. First of all, he's the most interesting character. They're not going to kill him off, especially
and if he does, they'll just
sequels.
bring him back in the new
Exactly,
body.
they just bring him back again. They show that, like, literally, they even make several jokes about it in this movie. The fact that, like, literally not even death can stop me. Like, you killed me once and I came back. So what do you think is going to work this time? And, like, I like, too, how even more so than in this one, because they spent so much of the last movie trying to avoid Corch because of because of the Spider, and you spent a lot of time with Spider, who I'm gonna get to also in this one, where a major development happens with him too. Is that this one I feel they really pulled back the barriers and really made it everything that was going on with Jake and Corch, as far as those two being mano a mano, because those two have both evolved significantly since 2009, where again, those two are both fathers now. They are constantly going back and forth of being friends to enemies, or rather I should say allies to enemies, at the expense of their kids. They are both showed that they are willing to do anything for their kids. Speaking of said kids, I spent a lot more time with the Sully kids this time around, the surviving ones, I should say. Like I said, Jake and Neytiri are both struggling with the death of Neteam, their oldest one. The opening is a very, very heartbreaking sequence where Loak is flying with his brother, but then it's revealed, this is all just like they're communing with Awa, the spirit mother that presides over all of Pandora, and he's interacting with the dead spirit of his brother. Loak is very clearly still also carrying around that grief and is wanting to prove himself to his father, who just continues to blame him for that. And in all sorts of different ways that we just know father figures are just well known for. So then you have Kiri, like I said, struggling with her connection to Awa. We finally get the basic confirmation revelation. It's like, yeah, so that the whole like her being born happened when they tried in the first one to merge Grace's human when Grace was grievously injured. How they merged. They attempted to merge her human consciousness with her avatar body the same way they did Jake with Jake. It did not work. However, clearly something happened because Kiri was born as a result of that. So they basically tell, Kiri is Grace reincarnated. And this one, they finally show you, like, she is ultimately going to kind of take Jake's place as far as the next kind of, like, I guess you could say, materialistic conduit for Awa, if you will. Because
an avatar, if you will.
An avatar, if you will, exactly. For
people
Awa.
are like,
This thing has layers.
Why do they call this movie Avatar? It's not even about that anymore. Yes, no. it very much
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. So you have that. And then you have everything going on with Spider as well, who's revealed to be Corch's son. Kind of one of the only last human characters in this movie, considering that every other human character...
I'm still convinced that Spider exists as a character only to make everything else look real. So
that's absolutely it. They need
we have a point of reference.
Yeah. Jack Champion, who still can't act outside of anything else, but hey, when you're acting up opposite a bunch of dudes in those giant motion capture suits and green screen, hey, it definitely makes your acting seem a lot better. Because, oh man, I remember when he was in Scream 6 only 6 months after The Way of Water, and yikes, that was not good. But
I guess people kind of default to him as like, oh, this character sucks. I think he has the issue of being the plot character where things happen to and around him rather than him making things happen.
Him actually making things happen. He's very, very much a passive character. However, I mean, when you have a movie with this big of a scope set on this alien of a world where things are constantly shifting and changing, in order to continue to add new plot developments, if you will, you need kind of a character like this in there. And it helps that Spider is such a blank slate played by such a bland actor that you can kind of just do anything to him and, just kind of explain it away with exposition. And it shows where basically Kiri's first major kind of communion with Awa happens when, one of the initial problems that's introduced at the beginning of the movie is, Spider's air mask that he needs to survive in the jungles of Pandora ultimately. And while again, it is another instance of, okay, it's a major plot thread that's introduced, that's not resolved at the end of this movie, because you can clearly tell that will continue to play more so in the next two. You have Kiri ultimately saving Spider's life when his battery pack ultimately runs out while they're being chased by the Mangwan clan. And she ultimately saves his life by having Awa plants essentially infect his lungs and create I can't remember the name of the thing, but essentially like infiltrate his lungs that essentially create like a natural immunity, allows him to have a natural immunity that essentially allows him to breathe the Pandoran air, making Spider the first human to be able to breathe Pandoran air.
Yeah, and he also grows the kuru. So basically,
Yes.
he becomes one of the
He's now one of the people.
a native of one of the people
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah.
So
So
so that causes a major cascade of issues
yes.
regarding like, oh, if it can happen to one, it can happen to everyone.
Yes,
Maybe.
exactly.
So
And so now obviously this worries the Navi because they're like, oh, this thing that made us special, this thing that kind of always gave us an edge over the humans and their vast, unlimited, technological resources. Now, if humans have the ability to do this, what does this mean for our future? And well, so I will say that if I do have one major criticism here, that does kind of get a little bit swept under the rug in exchange for kind of all of the rest of the melodrama that's inevitably leading up to the ultimate big fight. But it is a really, really cool development. And it's awesome seeing how Spider obviously has always considered himself more Pandoran than human. He was born on Pandora. He spent his entire life Pandora. The majority of his time growing up has been spent with the Sully children, obviously. So it makes sense that this would happen, that he now has the ability to commune with Awa and form bonds with all of the animals in the same way that all of the native Na'vi Sully children are able to. I had another note written down here, which is strange similarities to the Final Reckoning, released all the way back in May. It feels like it's been a year and a half since that movie came out, where even though that movie was very, very clearly intended as a finale ultimately versus this one, the way that this one ends is like clearly like another setup, like, okay, tune in for next time, tune in for 4 years from now. What I found very interesting is how both of these movies are ultimately continuations of their last installment, while also both of those movies are attempting to reach an overall catharsis through spectacle in a way that no other big budget action blockbuster filmmaker is. We kind of, in a way, said goodbye to Mission Impossible. That whole movie, I feel like, was Tom Cruise saying goodbye to that era. That project, that series that he had spent the better part of 3 decades doing. And now with this, it's not quite the same, but I can really, really feel James Cameron working through a lot of different things, a lot of different catharses, if you will, with this movie, I feel like. And so again, both these 3-hour-long, massive, massive extravaganzas, action blockbuster spectacle in a manner that nobody else is doing ultimately. So I was just wondering if that was a similarity that you felt as well, or if I'm just grasping at straws here.
I don't know. I guess I wrote this in my small letterbox review. James Cameron has about 5 tricks that he has, but he's so good at them that they hit every time.
Yes.
So he took he took all the good stuff from the first one, all the good stuff from the second one, and just mashed it together.
And it's funny too, because I also just recently, a couple months before this, watched The Abyss, which was the last Cameron movie that I still had to watch. I'd seen everything else up until this point, and I watched The Abyss. And even with The Abyss, and I'm saying, okay, so literally every single Cameron movie, this is his 9th movie, and he has never once avoided one of these 3. He loves water, he loves Marines with big guns, and he loves warnings about, and he loves warning people about kind of the problems of the future. And the best part is that because we as human beings are stupid and we continue to, inevitably go down this path that is leading to this AI doomed future, we've already basically destroyed almost every ecological, kind of place of sustenance. He can just continue to do the same story because nothing's changed ultimately. So I guess the reason why the criticism of, Cameron never always does the same kind of thing doesn't really apply is because he can do that. He can go back to his usual bag of tricks because we never learn. And because we still continue to inevitably go down that path. He was warning us about the dangers of AI way back in 1984 with the Terminator. And here we are, in the year 2025 when AI is all but about to replace us, and I do not say that, lightly at all.
Yeah, but I guess that's an interesting point because he can't keep making the thing with the lesson, and it's still relevant. Like every time,
Terminator,
relevant in 2009
Aliens,
is relevant in
Terminator,
2025.
Yeah, Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, True Lies, Titanic. Now 3 Avatar movies. It's like there's not there. Why is it again that a dude who seemingly makes similar movies every single time is still able to garner that much respect, that much attention, and that much box office aura, if you will, consistently? There's a reason.
He also likes a big vehicle sinking.
That he does.
He loves doing that.
He loves doing that, and man,
he's really good at it.
Man, do we get that?
Yeah. So again, it is a bit kind of like the Mission Impossible. It's built around the action spectacles, if you will. But I feel like, especially in this one, rather than the last one, I feel like the last one was more like, "Hey, we're back in Pandora.
Yeah.
We're gonna spend the time swimming around with the fishes, and we're just gonna have a gander." This one's more like, okay, we're gonna get the character moments. Like there's a scene with Jake and Neytiri where she's like, "I hate the sky people." They're like, "But hey, I'm one actually." So that was like a
Yeah.
character deepening moment. It's like little scenes like Loak almost shoots himself
Yeah,
in the
that was
head.
crazy. I was like,
I was like,
whoa, like this is a PG-13 movie here, guys. Come on. So I
so
thought,
so
yeah.
yeah, it's just more character because you've known them for a whole movie because that's what the thing with sequels, like you introduce a character and only like you need a whole movie to introduce them essentially, and then on the next one you can go deeper with it. That's why Jake and Quaritch and Neytiri, all these characters, they keep getting better and better every time, and now the kids are getting their development. So yeah, it's just more is better in this
Yeah,
case.
there's a lot of conflict here with all these characters, and I like kind of like, for lack of a better word, the four-way cross of all the characters, where it's like Jake and Neytiri are obviously having this conflict where they're both grieving the death of their son, but in vastly different ways. Neytiri hates Spider, Jake is angry at Loak, and so they both kind of have those massive crosses where Jake again feels that it's his burden to bear because he looks at Spider as kind of, a way of him making up and saving him from Quaritch's evil, versus Neytiri is sort of kind of trying to protect Loak from their dad, who is constantly like putting all this pressure on him. Loak is just crumbling under the pressure that he's trying to succeed, literally to the point where, like you said, he almost kills himself, which is an insane moment ultimately. So you have all of this kind of residual family drama that's holding them back as they are about to enter into one of the biggest fights of their lives, because the RDA, because I guess what's kind of so crazy about this in comparison to The Way of Water is that The Way of Water ultimately, despite the massive spectacle that you witness in that movie, the conflict ultimately was minor, because the end-all be-all third act fight sequence was ultimately just Jake and Quaritch fighting on a burning whale barge, and like they're fighting as it's sinking, and then Loak is trying to save his dad and Spider and all of this other stuff going on in between. So it's a relatively small scale in comparison to the big gigantic final battle that we get in this one, which I will say this, the final battle in the first one felt more epic because there was a build to it and there was less action in general throughout that movie, so it made sense to have that end with a big final battle, versus this one. There's so much action. There's so much fighting. You have like a massive spectacle fight in the beginning. And so when they end, it's like, oh, it's another war. Only this time it's Kiri summoning all of the creatures instead of Jake this time. I'm like, okay, all right. That's cool, at least, And also, the getting into the future is female. Ultimately, it makes sense that, Kiri as Grace's clone continuation would be the one to continue this. Also, continuing the human Navi relations, because I was sitting there with Dexter. I'm like, watching, like Kiri and Spider, they're gonna hook up.
I'm watching this. I'm like, Sigourney Weaver's like 50 years older than this guy. I'm like,
that is still a big criticism that I have. It's like, why? I get what he was going for. You could have cast like another person to actually do the motion capture. You don't actually need Sigourney playing that character, because that's still Sigourney Weaver's voice coming out of a teenage Navi. Like, there's gonna be some cognitive dissonance there.
I don't know. There's like a certain charm to it, because it's like this old woman playing a teenager, and only Cameron would think of to do something like this. So just let the mad scientist in him do what he wants to. I don't know.
It's weird.
It's weird, but it's kind
weird.
of.
I'm sorry. That's the one thing.
I don't know if it. I don't know if it works, but it's a talking point, certainly.
Definitely a talking point for sure. Like I said, it all goes back to the point of how any sort of nitpicks, criticisms don't matter, because Cameron ultimately does not miss, because he ultimately he's the best kind of a director. He's a fuck you director. He's like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're either going to be on board or you're not ultimately. And at the end of the day, the bottom line speaks loudest, because again, there's a reason why people keep showing up to these movies. I have another point here as well, which I thought was just really funny, how these went from movies to vibe/hangouts with the occasional plot development on the biggest scale imaginable. I feel like that also kind of goes back to the point as well, how these movies have become much more so akin to TV, I guess you could say, where a lot of the melodrama, a lot of the talking points, I guess you will, would be more so akin to TV, where there's a lot of stuff that I guess in a traditionalist movie and a traditionalist script you wouldn't necessarily need, but because you have this sequel that is dealing with all these different characters, and dealing with all these different plot points. Ultimately, you have like a lot of these moments of these characters just kind of sitting down and talking. You have this gobsmackingly awesome prison break sequence where Jake surrenders.
That might be like my favorite.
It's definitely up there. Like I'm like at the end, we'll do a ranking as far as like our favorite action sequences, but where basically Jake surrenders to the RDA and is put in jail. Spider has also been captured again. Neytiri flies in and orchestrates an insane jailbreak, assisted unintentionally so by Jermaine Clement's character, who's finally had said and is the latest human to be like, enough is enough. With with this horrific whaling expedition of the what's Pycon species name? The Toluks, I think what their names. The Tolkuns, yes. The horrific whaling.
I know. I know.
See, you know. So you have all of that. You have that whole sequence there. Jake escapes ultimately. Jake, Neytiri, and Spider, and then you have Jake almost having a mice and men moment with Spider, where he's like, "You're right." He's like, "They're never gonna stop coming for Spider." And now that he's proven to be like the one human that can now survive on Pandora, they're gonna get to him. They're gonna reverse engineer him, and then everything that you worried about is gonna come to pass. So he almost has a moment where he's just like, he's like, "Come with me, Spider." He's like, "Where are we going?" He's like, "Just do what I tell you." And you're like, "Oh my God, is Jake gonna kill Spider? Like, what's going on here?" Like, and it was also a really, really heartbreaking moment that like finally is like a come to Jesus moment for Neytiri, where Neytiri is finally like, "Okay, I was wrong. I was too harsh on him. This doesn't need to go this way." Ultimately, and it's
kind of like the Lost thing, where like 2 or 3 character arcs can like collide around one point. So like Jake and Neytiri's arcs both collide at the thought of having to kill Spider. So again, like I said, it's a TV thing. Like these movies are so long that they're basically like mini series.
Pretty much. I mean, literally, I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, okay, and also literally to the point where you have like cuts to black in the middle of the movie. I'm like, okay, so this is the end of one episode. This is the end of one episode. It's almost like Cameron is saying, okay, this is your time to go and take a pee break now. So I'm like, see, look at how conscious and understanding this director is of his audience and how times have changed ultimately. So I thought that was really, really cool. All right, let's get into it. I mean, I want to talk a little bit more about the Mangwan clan as well and that whole sequence as well, because actually, you know what? Let's have the Mangwan conversation now, and then we'll talk about the individual action sequences. So the Mangwan clan, like, oh man, like just their introduction, how they're utilized. Once Korch goes to make the deal with them with the weapons, once he hooks up with
I love his lines. Like, you got any other ideas, Colonel? I got one. It's radical.
It's awesome. Every time Korch, I'm like, just let Stephen Lang cook.
I don't know how James Cameron has done this. Like, created the perfect. He's not even that like too much of a villain.
He's really not a villain at this point.
He is a villain. He's just an opposing force.
Yes, he's an antagonist, is what he is. But he's really not a villain, quote unquote.
Yeah. So again, the Mangwan, they're fully dialed up to 11. Like they have suicide bombers. Like the guy just holds up like a flammable thing, and
they light themselves on fire and fly right in. I was like, oh my God, they had the Na'vi have kamikazes. Like, oh man.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it's not just the fire gimmick. Like, they praise the fire, but they really are just like, what if Na'vi were evil actually? So and again, Una Chaplin is like the perfect front woman for that, and then the relationship with Quirt, that's the whole
man
thing.
I'm literally two things. I'm like, I have never been more turned on by Na'vi human relations, right? And what kind of drugs are they doing, and how can I get my hands on them? Because man, when she gives Quarch the hallucinogenics and they're having that intimate heart-to-heart where it's like, oh, you thought this was going to be a simple transaction. Oh, how wrong you were. And oh man, it's so good, because like she thinks that she's got the one up on Quarch, but like no, her and Quarch, like there's a reason, like they're kind of equals. And I love how too it's telling that what's it called? I love how it's telling that that Korch and Varang both, well, Korch we're not sure about, but Varang survives this movie. So I'm like, all right.
She definitely gets away, and like
definitely gets away. There's no ambiguity about the way that there is with Korch, but yeah, oh man, like. Yeah, I was digging this. I was digging the Mangwan. I'm like, yes, more evil Na'vi. Please give us a little bit more nuance with the Na'vi. Because as much as I enjoyed the Met Cayena clan and the last one, I'm like, all right, like we want a little bit more. We want a little bit more nuance with our Na'vi relations, and boy, did we get that. So, and then that gets us into the action sequences. So, I mean, So as far as the action sequences go, so we have the first one, which is, the expedition with the air traders, and then the first Mind-Guan attack that results in just some gobsmackingly amazing visuals. And then also transitions to a chase on the ground where the Sullys, Jake, and Neytiri is gravely injured and is saved by her flying beast. I forgot the name of it, that takes her back home. And then Jake is forced to team up with Quarch in order to find the kids who are trying to avoid the Mangwan clan. You also get Loak with a machine gun, and all that. So that's the first major action sequence. You have
Then have a break.
Yeah, you have a little bit of a break there. Then you have, I would say, the next major action sequence is probably the prison break sequence where Neytiri goes and where Neytiri and the Jermaine Clement character help Jake and Spider escape. And then you have the scene where Loak is trying to find Payakan after he's banished, which kind of a pointless subplot. It's like, oh, we're really still doing this, where the Toruk elders are like, oh no, Payakan has violated our sacred vow of non-violence. He has to be banished. I'm like, oh, we're still doing this. Okay,
they're hunting you.
After they were being hunted and wailed out, they had to bring in this whole other random Toruk in order to come in and be like, yes, the humans are bad. I am the only survivor. We have to kill them all. I'm like, okay, we didn't really need this. You could have cut this out, but okay, fine. And then obviously,
I will never ask anything to be cut out of an Avatar movie. I'm like, okay, I don't love it, but
that one I could have seen cut out. I'm like, you didn't need this. Yeah, I understand, because I understand the purpose of it, because they needed Loak to go off on his own and have his own thing. But ultimately, yeah, it was you needed a little bit of like you needed a. That I'm like, you could have cut, but it results in ultimately the final battle, which is again all of the Na'vi clans once again teaming up in their final battle against the RDA and also against Quarch and the Mangwan clan, who also fly into battle there. So it's like, so you have the good Na'vi, the evil Na'vi, and the humans that are all in this massive fight alongside the shores of the Metkayina clan, also alongside this giant magnetic vortex, which is just like there for some reason. Again, it doesn't matter. It results in some awesome action sequences. Kiri and Spider then end up going down and Took ends up helping them out too. Like, Took is the youngest Sully member. She's just kind of there.
Like, we'll get more Took in
we'll get more Took in
the
next couple years once she's old enough, I mean, the actress is like 15, I think, in real life, but like they filmed this like however many years ago, because they filmed this in Way of Water back to back. So of all that, and like I said, it gobsmackingly amazing visuals, action sequences. We get Jake versus Quarch. We get Kiri saving Neytiri from Varang. You have Loak.
It's a very Ripley moment. It's like,
very,
get away from her,
almost like that was done intentionally. Almost like it was done intentionally. It's like, oh, we have a chance for Sigourney Weaver to
like, where have I seen this exact thing before?
I think I've seen this before. So that was great. It's great. Like I said, you're never gonna go wrong with the James Cameron action sequence. He understands how to shoot action like nobody else. So which of those three, I would say those are probably the three major action sequences. Which of those three would you say is your favorite?
I really enjoyed the prison break, because like Neytiri, she puts on all the Mangwan war paint. The Quarch is also cool.
Undercover.
Quarch is painted up at this point, or he's starting to. That she has to fly her Ikran through these like tiny gaps. Like, I love anytime it cuts to Bridgehead City. It's like, oh, everything is terrible. It's smoke and fire everywhere. So you have multiple people trying to help Jake out. You get the big bulldozer thing. So again, like lots of moving parts, and then that eventually leads into the climax. And the climax is like, no one does third act better than James Cameron.
Well, like, third act, maybe try third, fourth, and fifth act with the way that this goes, because I mean,
it's like a full hour. It's like a full hour of the big battle. Just like how do you make movies this big? I'm like, more people should do it.
Only Cameron does it ultimately. And while it ends on sort of another cliffhanger, sort of the same ending as the last one, Spider is officially welcomed amongst the Na'vi as they all connect to the AWAP plant underneath the water ultimately. And he's, you meet all the spirits of the past coming back, Grace, Neytiri's dad, all the reason, we did unfortunately lose a couple of people in this battle. We lost the Kate Winslet character, who unfortunately takes a knife to the chest, but is able to give birth to her son right before she dies. You also have one of the Bailey Bass character, the one Metkayina character that Loak is forming a little bit. He's getting the hots for. Her brother dies unfortunately in the final battle too. So a couple of sad deaths, but ultimately nobody really major. Oh, and also, Payakan gets his revenge by eating the one-armed dude, the one-armed evil whaler. So that was pretty cool. Edie Falco also meets her end when she gets sucked up by the magnetic vortex at the end. So that was pretty cool. So we'll probably get more evil humans in the next two. Ultimately, I think Giovanni Ribisi will probably still be around because he just has
I hope so.
he just has such a wormy personality. I'm like, he's too much fun in order to
He's
get
very
dragged in.
Ben Linusy. He's
Very, very much
of
so.
that genre of person.
Very, very much so. He's of that genre. He's of that generation. But yeah, so the only other real note that I had as far as this specific movie goes is the future of this franchise, 4 and 5. Obviously, yeah. So Cameron famously said, with a little bit of a wink wink to the audience, saying, like, yeah, so if this movie obviously does the money, then yeah, I'll start work on, 4 and 5 are already kind of in development. I believe they already completed some initial filming. I don't know how much actually was done.
I think what I've heard or seen is that they've done like part of 4, and then there's going to be a time jump, and they haven't shot that yet.
Okay. Yeah, there definitely needs to be a time jump for sure, because you're going to need to account for the growing, because almost all of the Sully kids, Sigourney Weaver notwithstanding, are basically about to be full-on adults. Even the youngest one is now 15 in real life. So you gotta account for the jump, because all those kids who were in like their late teens starting to emerge into early 20s when they were shooting Way of Water, and this movie are now in their mid 20s. By the time these movies come out, they're going to be in their late 20s. And so you got to account for that. Also, Cameron has stated that the thing that he will also bring in once he gets to 4 and 5 is that we will actually see Earth again, and we will see what has happened ultimately since then. So we spent a lot of time on Pandora, but like he's like, yeah, we need to see a reason why these humans keep coming back and why they keep trying to colonize Pandora ultimately.
There's that extended edition of the first one where you see like Earth is just like a cyberpunk hell, essentially. It's all polluted, and like everything sucks.
Yep.
So, and then I do think that it was good to cut it, because I watched the extended cut before I watched the regular cut, and it's like really slows down until you get to Pandora. So it was good to see that.
So what I'll say to that is, and this is like where my conspiracy theory brain is getting in. I'm like, what if the Avatar and the Terminator movies all take place in the same universe, where basically this is in the far future after the humans have beat back the Terminators in Skynet, but the problem is the Earth is too fucked. So as a result, the survivors have now taken the Terminator tech and have now used that to continue to try and colonize Pandora ultimately. That would be...
So bring in Arnold into... They keep referring to this chairman character in this one. So like they got to bring like a DiCaprio.
They got to bring in somebody big. They got to bring in somebody big. I mean, I know that Michelle Yeoh was also cast, but that her character would not be appearing until 4 or 5, because famously, so the 3 major additions going into 3 were Una Chaplin, who as Varang. We were going to get David Thewlis too as the leader of the Wind Traders, where he was going to have a small part in this one, but then that part was going to get expanded over the next 2. And then Michelle Yeoh's character, who would not appear until 4 or 5. I don't know if she was supposed to play a human character or if she was supposed to play another Pandoran figure, possibly be the voice of Awa herself before that was cut ultimately. That would kind of make more sense. But hey, that's true. They have made a lot of reference to the chairman of the RDA, yet another evil corporation, which we also know Cameron loves to play around and loves to make the bad guys in his movies. That goes all the way back to Aliens as well, with him continuing with the Weyland-Yutani organization that was set up by Ridley Scott all those years ago. So ultimately, I think it's safe to say, though, with the general reaction to hype that we got, this was one of the only movies that I've seen so far this year, ironically, other than The Final Reckoning, where people were coming out, they were talking about it, they were having a blast. Everybody that was in that theater was just having a good time. Me and Dex were like fist pumping so hard. We were having a great time. It was like watching a sports game during some of those action sequences. So I think it's safe to say that the future of this franchise is pretty safe. And James Cameron's health notwithstanding, because he is getting up there in age, we will be getting Avatar 4 and 5 in 2029 and 2031, hopefully.
Yeah, like 4 years, like considering they haven't shot most of it, feels like a small amount of time. So maybe it will get delayed a bit. So, and if he wants to make the Devils first or something, like
right. I'm with it. I'm definitely with it, because, man, I would like to see Cameron, because that's the other thing, too, also, is this is Cameron's 9th movie. Cameron is about to join the Perfect 10 Club. Like I said, there are a couple directors who've joined that recently. Paul Thomas Anderson recently joined that club this year with One Battle After Another. A couple of directors have hit it in the last couple years. Nolan's been in there for a minute. Nolan got in there all the way back in 2017.
Also, seeing the full prologue on the big screen.
Oh man, now we didn't talk about any of the trailers, but honestly, like I said, the Disclosure Day trailer, awesome. The Odyssey prologue, awesome. The Doomsday teaser, whatever.
I did not get the Doomsday teaser.
Movie. It's whatever. It's not worth watching. There was one other teaser that I forgot about that we got as well. Oh, the Inuyasha teaser, the Digger trailer with Tom Cruise coming out next year.
We didn't get that, but that looks like
Tom Cruise dancing on
Tom
a
Cruise doing
boardwalk
real
with a
movies
shovel.
again.
I am in. Sign me up. I will be there opening night. We were definitely still getting. It's good to see that even as the industry is continuing to cave way to the tech giants, we are still getting some true cinema. So with that being said, Luke, I think that's pretty much everything that we can talk about with these movies. I think it's just safe to say it's just a good time. It's just a good time. And the fact that we can still get action spectacles on this level ultimately isn't the best movie of the year. I'd say it'll probably be in your top 10. It's not in mine, but this is like as high as you could possibly get for me as far as honorable mentions. This is just everything that I want for movies, action blockbusters around this time. We've been trained to expect a certain kind of action blockbuster to be released around this time of the year. And after, I would say, 2 years of a little bit of a drought, because Wonka really wasn't this kind of an action blockbuster, I'm glad that we were able to get it. And then next year, obviously, we're getting a triple hit next year. Oh, man, with Doomsday, Doom 3, and Robert Eggers' Werewolf, which are all going to be opening around this time next year. So I think it's safe to say we are still going to be eating well around this time of the year for the foreseeable future, at least. We got Secret Wars in 27, and then we'll see what comes in 28 and 29 before we wrap the decade.
I'm saying it's going to be the X-Men movie in 28.
Do you think they're going to push X-Men to December, and they're not going to do that in May? You think the Marvel May slot is done?
I don't know. That's my prediction, because this is now the Disney December. Like, if it's not Avatar, it's Marvel.
Yep,
so.
it's true. This is true. Disney has cornered this slot as well, because since their May slot doesn't make them money anymore, they're like, we got to corner down in December, because Spider-Man No Way Home made $1 billion. So we got to corner down on the slot. So with that being said, as we wrap up here, what is your final review and star rating for Avatar: Fire and Ash?
My final review is that it needed to be. It was as good as I hoped it would be, because I know there's a certain ceiling with this franchise, because it's structurally similar to the last two. Yep. But it's like, I know what I'm going here for. I'm here to get immersed, here to hang out with the characters and enjoy the big action sequences. So, and it builds on everything established in 2. Yes, it definitely reuses some familiar sites from 1 and 2, but I think it's Cameron, and it hits every time. So I'm giving it 4 stars. I'm very excited to see if and when he does the Devils, because like you said, it has like what does he do? He warns about the future. He warns
about the future. He loves his Marines and his big guns, and he loves the water.
Yeah, which is exactly why I want him to do the Devils, because Devils has exactly none of that.
Oh, perfect!
It's like a fantasy.
Are they on a ship at some point?
They are on the ship. I will give you that. He probably read that and was like, got a bit horny. So yeah, it's a simple move. Go A to B, run into some action sequences.
Simple. Keep it simple. Hollywood has been struggling to figure out what it is that they have been missing from their movies. It is this. Keep it simple. They just do not understand how to do that. So my final review and rating for Avatar: Fire and Ash, I just had a good time. 4 out of 5 stars. That's all I can ask ultimately for my movies now. It's not going to be in my top 10, but man, I just had such a good time with it. I just had such an overall good time with it. So, Luke, thank you for joining me. Where can the people follow you on the interwebs? And also give your quick spiel on the final episode of It. Welcome to Derry.
Well, it turns out that if you include Bill Skarsgård in your episodes, you're going to have a much better result. So again, it was like your typical season finale, where the first half of the episode is the big action thing where everything comes together, and the second half is like the Lord of the Rings ending, where you like leave off with all the characters. But it was a very worthy finale. The Pennywise stuff is great. Like they can really do more on TV than they can in the movies, which is like the opposite of how it should be.
Right.
I feel I was like, it's frustrating when people like watch a certain thing related to a franchise first without watching everything that came before, and then they start like making up theories when the answers are already in the other stuff.
Yes. It's like guys, we already know how this is gonna go. Like,
and there's also revealed that Pennywise, like, he perceives time like all at the same time.
Oh, so he's Dr. Manhattan. He's Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, he's Dr. Manhattan, and people are like, oh, he's time traveling. Like, no, he can perceive it all at once. Like, come on, guys. We've been watching sci-fi crap for how many years, and you still don't get it? Like, Because
Oh, you are finally.
Lost was ahead of its time.
It really was. It really, really was. You have no idea just how ahead of its time. And like I said, as crazy as this season of Lost has gotten, we still have yet to crack the server. We still haven't even gotten to season 5 yet, which, oh man, you thought you saw everything that you could see with time travel. Just you wait.
But yeah, you can find me at Look Reviews on YouTube. I will very much enjoy talking about this one in my top 10. So
absolutely. And you guys can follow me with everything going on at Movie Nerd Reviews across all platforms, at Official Talkin TV Podcast across all platforms. And stay tuned for a surprise review next. We'll see you guys next time.